All right, I think we're maybe live. So I had been playing Mario RPG, but now I guess I'm gonna try streaming chess. Let me change my Twitch title, and I'm still new to streaming
It's a
this kind of
pumpkin
thing.
cupcake noise.
So,
Noise.
so excuse that I'm just showing you Twitch, but let's change this. Uh, I guess I'll go to Stream Manager. I always forget. So the category is not Super Mario RPG. It is chess. Alright, seems reasonable enough. I guess the tags on this should be different. And should just be chess. Maybe Lichess? Sure. Alright, so now everyone's seen behind the curtain on how to set up Twitch with OBS. Let's do a rapid game. Pay no mind to the man behind the curtain, indeed. All right, we have e4, e5, knight, knight, pretty standard. This might go into, okay, so here we have a Ruy Lopez or the Spanish. So we'll play a6, challenging the bishop. We take with the d pawn, opening up this line for a queen. The knight can no longer take this pawn because then we have queen to d4, threatening to take the pawn back. We'll take the knight and the pawn back with check. So this person castled, which is correct. We will develop our knight, but we're not actually going to take because this rook can come, and now we don't take because the pawn is there as well. So instead, we'll just continue our development. We'll place a bishop here. Seems like a pretty good spot. We're prepared to castle now. H6 or H3. Whoop! As you can see, I'm very precise with these arrows. So we can no longer put extra pressure on the F2 pawn with our knight. Not really concerned about that. We'll just castle. No need to rush here. And this bishop relative pin on our knight to the queen can get annoying, but we can get rid of it immediately by playing queen to d6 while still protecting the knight. We want to be careful, of course, because if we get extra pressure on this knight, for example, if this knight goes here and then here, then we still can't take if the queen's there because of the relative pin, and eventually we'd be forced if we were to recapture, it'd be with our g pawn, which would open up our which would of course open up our king. I just realized the screen's a bit small. It's not showing the whole chessboard. First time chess streaming. I don't know how the normal streamers you typically do this, but okay, looks like we have the screen back up here. Okay, back to the game. Use some time just to adjust that, but we have plenty of time. Still 13 plus minutes on the clock. I don't necessarily need to get rid of the pin right away. We can challenge it too with h6. They'll probably just go back. This helps, I guess, make sure the knight and the bishop, neither of them go there. And then from here, my thought is either just develop the bishop. I suppose there's a couple ways to do that. We could go here, which doesn't seem very good because the bishop then is blocked by its own pawn, which is blocked by this bishop. We could go here, which gives us visibility into this diagonal, which is more space for sure, but from there it doesn't seem like it's going to be going anywhere, but still might be helpful long term. The other option is to push this pawn fianchetto, but then we have to deal with our doubled pawn, which means moving the bishop. So I think I will place the bishop here. At some point we'll move the queen to get out of the relative pin. If we're bold, we can play g5, opening up the king. Yeah, sorry, Owlzio, it wasn't just you. It was that I was not looking at this stream effectively. There's probably, I wonder, like this is just sharing the screen. I wonder if it would be easier to put in the Lichess URL and share that almost instead, or if other like chess streamers do something different. For now, this is just the whole screen, but it's cutting off the top of the browser now. So if there's a better way to do this, I'd love to hear. Maybe I'll explore another time. While we're figuring out stream optimizations, our opponent has developed their knight. Reasonable thing to do, of course, get the knight off the starting square, start to get the rooks lined up, extra protection on this knight. It's not really threatened, and it's not going to be threatened, at least not anytime soon. But still, putting the knight here without blocking their c-pawn. So in Rui openings and in Italian openings, they often like to push the c-pawn. So actually, the knight on c3 sometimes is actually not the optimal square. Again, as earlier, like they could try to go for this route, but we have a pawn here that would stop that anyway. So I guess I should think about how I'm going to make progress. I don't see any real threats other than this relative pin, so need to be mindful if the knight maybe has some route where they're going to maybe go here and put pressure on this pawn, try to put extra pressure on our knight. So I think breaking the relative pin... Oh, wait. Because I put my bishop here, that would actually leave my knight unguarded. So we shouldn't do that. So I guess I should have thought about that before putting my bishop here. I can maybe move the queen here. At some point we want to develop the queen. Maybe now's not a good time to do that. I think, okay, so Owl is saying he usually does window capture and then can crop out the top bar and stuff. So that's probably better than sharing the whole screen. Or maybe window capture is the screen. But having our rooks connected will be good. Having our queen into the game will be good. Dealing with these doubled pawns at some point will be good. For now, I suppose another way to prevent the knight from potentially pressuring this pawn is by controlling the c4 square with b5. We're starting to get stronger on the light squares, but on here, the dark squares. So I think our pawn structure might be confused. I don't know too much about pawn structures. I should have thought about that too, that our pawn was actually already threatened. But on the other hand, I can attack the knight. It will maybe expose my king though. Like if I go here, 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 then the knight has... I guess the knight could escape to here, grabbing another pawn. And our queen might infiltrate. some way. The battery seems strong, but with the rook here, hard to make progress. I'm really regretting putting my bishop here. It would have been better to have my queen here, which would have also protected this pawn. I still can't move this knight. Not that he has really anywhere to go at this point. At some point, I want to retreat this bishop, but if I retreat it here, it gets in the queen's way. So we're kind of set up pretty poorly now. We could just go here with the bishop, threatening the knight, but then he still goes here. So not immediately seeing a way to both defend this pawn. I mean, I could bring the bishop back. Let us trade the pieces. Tricky. I'm also getting pretty low on time. Well, I shouldn't say low on time. Compared to my opponent who has 15 minutes and actually has more than the starting time. Hopefully they're not getting frustrated with all this time I'm spending thinking. Maybe I will be bold and go g5. Hopefully that solves more problems than it creates. Because now, still have this pawn in mind, needing maybe some protection. The queen could go here, but that doesn't seem good because the knight will move and then our queen will be under attack. Fortunately, placing the queen here allows the knight to take with tempo against the queen. Could still maybe move this bishop back. I can move this knight now as well. Offer to trade the knight, that's kind of annoying. Seems alright to me. Oh, but he's still just gonna go here. So I guess that's one weakness I have, is I think of all these ideas and then realize that I didn't actually solve anything. And now the queen's under attack and the bishop is attacking this pawn. So we're probably dropping another pawn here, which means our opponent's going to have 3 pawns, and we're not starting off to a very good start here. I mean, we could guard the pawn by moving the queen here, which keeps the queen very passive, unfortunately. Versus we could go here with the idea that we can maybe regain one of the pawns. We can maybe attack the knight, like trade our bishop for the knight. Really start getting rid of the opponent's attack. I think I just need to go for it because pretty soon here, I think I'm going to start getting into time struggles. We can also just go here, attacking both the bishop and the knight. If he takes, of course. Pressuring the f2 pawn a little bit, but he's way too well protected right now. 3 protectors with the bishop, the rook, and the king. Sometimes easy to forget that the king is, in fact, a defender. Now our opponent's thinking, so we might have some time to wait. Only fair. We made our opponent wait plenty. It's only been 13 moves. Maybe our opponent's calculating, maybe our opponent's just trying to determine how to best proceed with a 2-pawn lead, as well as these active pieces against my relatively inactive pieces. So not just material-wise, but definitely position-wise, we feel a lot worse. I probably should have thought about that move, this pawn advancing. I didn't think much about it. So we could take with the knight, but that just loses the piece because this pawn has 2 defenders, the knight and the bishop, and we only have, right now we have 2 attackers, but if the knight takes, we only have 1. My arrows are really bad. The streamers make it look so easy. Let's see. So I guess the obvious moves to me would be queen here or here. Obviously, this diagonal just is not safe because of the knight. Going back here just feels a bit passive. Could go here so that way we still have bishop ideas. Double attack the knight. Seems reasonable to me. And of course, that was a completely terrible move because of this check. This is more or less resignable, but in the words of Levi Rosman, never resign. Pre-move, taking back. Could have done with the pawn. At this point, I'm just going to play fast, get through this game. Our opponent should be able to find a way to victory very quickly. They'll probably get their queen involved. Not there, obviously, because then I would just take, but start just attacking our pieces, trying to trade away what we have left, simplify the position. Somehow advance. These pawns will probably start pushing at some point. So not a very well played game on my part. But as this new stream title suggests, the content nobody asked for, low elo chess. So I aim to deliver both, and only having an elo of 1421, which I guess that's a little bit hidden from the stream. Now it's there. And also just how I'm playing. So what's the idea? They want to go here? But then my bishop can just retreat. Could go here. Can still retreat. Could try to open up my rook, letting the opponent take with en passant, which, as we all know, is the only forced move in chess. Let's see if they go for it. Let's see if they know the unsaid rule that you always have to en passant. I would love to pre-move taking back with the rook, but if they don't, then I'm just handing a rook. They do not go for en passant. How disappointing. Anarchy Chess on Reddit would be very disappointed. So I guess that was the idea. Kick this bishop off this diagonal. Get any potential pressure on that f2 away. We'll just hide our bishop. Try to keep our king protected. But with enough pressure, things should fall. Queen can't go here anymore. Queen probably needs maybe here, here, threatening what? I'm sure my opponent will figure it out. They are 8 points of material ahead. I have a bishop for their queen and 2 pawns. Plus, I'm down almost 9 minutes. Does my opponent see, though, that their bishop can get trapped? The start of the comeback. That is the other reason not to resign at this elo. As much as sometimes you just hang your queen, you never know when your opponent will. Okay, so now that's stopped. Bishop cannot be trapped anymore because this pawn is pinned. We can regain our ability to pin, though, by moving our king. And then they would advance their pawn to stop their bishop from being trapped. Could also just start pushing this pawn. I mean, it's pretty lost anyway. Let's go for a pawn push. Having our 3 pawns in front of our king seems powerful. It's almost like we're castled and have a back rank on the 6th rank. Except our forces are also behind us. Always look for checks. Checks, captures, attacks. And not just for yourself, but for your opponent as well, which not doing that is definitely how we got in this position, how we are 8 points down in material. Opponent has plenty of time to see that their bishop is stuck. Oh, I'm an idiot. The bishop wasn't stuck. This is why I'm low elo on chess. Let's, sometimes when I'm in a completely losing position, I give myself a new goal. Often it's to get the king to the opposite rank. So when I'm black, it's the 1st rank. When I'm white, it's the 8th rank. Our path to that seems pretty difficult. But there's only one way to make progress, which is to move up. We don't currently have a route this way because of this pawn. But we can push this pawn, trade it, and then try to go around. Or we can get checked and maybe have to still trade. You never know as well at this elo if your opponent will just stalemate you. We have way too many pieces on the board to be stalemated right now. At some point we might just sacrifice away all of our material. Get the knight in. Not sure where he's going. Can't go there. I mean, that's check. Then he just loses it. And he's still completely winning because we're down 8 points of material. King can't go this way. The only way for our king to be able to go forward is to move the pawn out of the way. Take. Move up. Take. Move up. And we're inching ever closer. Although their king, of course, will stop us from entering from the H file currently. But maybe at some point we'll be able to sack our rook so that we can get to the 1st rank. Haha. What happened to our queen was it was being attacked, and as opposed to moving it to a safe square, I moved it to a place where we could give our opponent the royal fork and with the knight, give us a check and attack the queen. So unfortunately, oh man. So now, like, the problem is this knight is here. So sacrificing my rook to try to make a way for the king to come up doesn't quite work. This is a pawn that we can just take, but it gets in our way of our king going up. Maybe we get the... Well, no, that will just hang it to the bishop. Maybe we go here to try to get the knight to move so we can sacrifice our rook so the king goes there, and then we'll move up. The bishop will move away, so we'll have to figure out a way out of that. Or we'll just get a check and make backwards progress towards our goal to the first rank. Normally you want to get the pawns to the first rank to promote them. But in this case, we're in a completely losing position, so we've changed our own rules about chess and are looking to get the king to the first rank. Which it looks like we're going to lose at that game too. Only legal move. King down. We're slowly falling down the ranks. Or up the ranks, depending on your perspective. Welcome, N. Hauser. Finally figuring out how to chat. Very complicated stuff. You are in the middle of seeing me completely lose a position after not paying attention to my opponent's threats. The power of the bishops. Yes, I still have the bishop pair. Unfortunately, the bishops are now being forked. So it looks like one of them is probably going to go down. And then I'll not have the power of the bishops. We could give the check. We could start playing hope chess. Give a check. Hope that the opponent doesn't see that the rook can recapture. Or we can give a check. Hope they recapture. No, they can't recapture with the knight because it's pinned. Let's see. What's our best hope to hang on to the bishop pair? It doesn't appear we can guard both. Let's give a check. Maybe they won't retake our bishop. Maybe we're at the point in the game where we just sacrifice away all of our material and hope for stalemate. We no longer have the bishop pair. So let's just push the pawns. Let them take the bishop. They could also give this check and maybe get mate, or that check. Could attack the king, let the pawn come, and they check with that. At this point, we are definitely just losing, so I don't think it matters what I play. So we're just here for fun. They didn't take my rook. Not yet, at least. Let's go ahead and hang the other rook. It's not a no my rook yet, because we still have plenty of legal moves. The real blunder was letting them get connect 4. We didn't win at chess or connect 4, or get the king to the other side. Losing in multiple ways in this game. We will break their connect 4, though. Assuming they'll recapture. And do we... I guess on the light square. Haven't put much thought into it. The queen could capture with check and the pawn protects. And we'd go here. Could go back here too. Unfortunately, our opponent probably is going to get checkmate before we can get anything. And instead of keeping with checks and just getting a checkmate, they are eliminating our pawns. Let's see if they keep taking our pawns. No, it looks like they're going for a ladder mate. Queen here and his mate. GG's. Let's try a new opponent. Indeed, I sacrificed the rook! Unfortunately, it wasn't a brilliant sacrifice. Alright, e4. Try to get the center with the king pawn. Many classical openings start with this. Stupid modern openings. We'll just take the center. The bishop will come out. We'll reinforce it with our knight. So this is essentially the Perk defense. Except they didn't do it in the right order. They're just kind of transposing. But when the knight goes here in the castle, it's... I suppose if I push the c-pawn, it transposes into the King's Indian defense. But d6 probably good so that we can't get e5 and just have the bishop stare into nothing. So we'll develop our bishop here, kind of doubly reinforcing this pawn with the idea that our queen will go here, and if they castle, we're going to challenge their fianchetto bishop. And if they take, then our queen will recapture, and we'll just have a queen hanging out by the king. And even if it's not an immediate threat, it's definitely a long-term. Oh, the opponent left the game and I can claim victory in 57 seconds. Not the most exciting way to win. Hopefully our opponent comes back. Yes, gotta win this one to teach modern players the error of their ways. And I guess our center is so strong that the opponent just left the game. Maybe they decided to eat dinner instead. Oh, they're back. So they did not just abandon the game. They've decided that they've had their fill. e5. I'm not sure that that's a good move. It's certainly not the book move if they're actually going for a perk or a King's Indian defense. It's maybe a push black wants at some point, but seems a little preemptive to me. That being said, this is coming from a low elo player who doesn't know how to play chess. Our options, of course, are to take with the pawn, let him take the queen, and make black lose the right to castle. Assuming they do recapture. We could push the pawn, just keep the center really closed, and be strong on the light squares. And having their bishop blocked in by their own pawn. We could do nothing. Maybe they capture, but we've reinforced this pawn 3 times. So we can no problem capture, maybe with the bishop to again challenge their fianchettoed bishop. And if we ignore it, we might just make progress with our own development, bring the bishop out, prepare to castle. I kind of like the idea of capturing and making the opponent lose their right to castle. Don't know that they'll recapture with the pawn, but indeed they do. So now we'll just continue our development. bring out the bishop. Their bishop is still stuck behind their own pawn. So, and now their knight is blocking their natural way to fight against my pawn. And their knight is attacking my pawn, but this is easily defendable with my own knight. So I'm not sure that my opponent has made good progress here. Okay, now have attacked this pawn once again. We could move our knight, which would both defend the pawn and threaten this fork. It would only win an exchange while their bishop is still there, not a full rook. Minus a pawn too if they take the pawn. We could castle long, give a check. Allows the opponent to maybe go here. I'm not sure this check is that useful, so I probably won't castle long. I think probably best to either defend this pawn somehow, castle short and prepare to come up with the rooks, take the open d file. Probably don't want to just take this pawn. It looks like maybe a free pawn, but I like more the threat of putting the knight here. Maybe this is the way to go. Put the knight here, defend this pawn, threaten this fork. But if we go through our checklist and be thorough on this, if we go here with the knight, what's our opponent going to do? Do they have any checks? No. Do they have any captures? This pawn, of course, but it's defended twice and only attacked twice, so not good for the opponent. Do they have any threats? None that seem immediate. Pushing the pawn that just loses to the fork. And if the opponent defends king here or here, we can maybe try to harass the king. Let's go ahead and defend the pawn. Also opens up our pawn to defend this pawn in case our knight gets booted. Let me shift the screen slightly so I'm not blocking the board with my own camera. So let's see, what might our opponent do? Okay, they defended the pawn with the rook. Very logical. So I think we ought to defend this pawn because our knight's probably going to come under attack. Then again, we'd have to retreat here. I'm not sure how much we'd care. Wait a minute. Why am I not just taking the bishop? I am just blind today. Let's just take the bishop. Now, I suppose we ought to castle, maybe? Long or short? Short seems safer, long seems like it gives a check, but that check doesn't accomplish much unless our opponent blunders and just like goes here, forever trapping this rook. And this rook is already trapped, so I don't really want to give my opponent a reason to move the king here. Tempo doesn't really seem worth it to me. I think I'll just castle, get the rooks connected. I'm so glad you saw that. I was yelling at my monitor. Yeah, I don't know. I feel pretty blind today. Some days are like that. You just don't see what's right in front of you. Okay, as expected, they're trying to kick our knight. Now we can move it back here or here. Here seems stupid. Because if we go here, where's the knight going to go? Can't go back here, can't go here, can't go here, and can't go here. So probably we want to go here. We don't want to trade two pieces for the rook. Material-wise, the rook and the pawn are equivalent. In general, two minor pieces for one major and a pawn is not worth it, though, especially since we're still in the middle game. So, for example, we go here, check, rook takes, bishop takes. It does give us pretty good still activity with that bishop, and our opponent can't castle, but I think I would rather just hang on to the two pieces. So if we go here, opponent might try to continue to harass, but then we can just jump here. Let me make sure. Your opponent proposes a take back. Sure, why not? Okay, so instead, reinforcing this. I guess they would have been unhappy to trade the pawn and rook for the knight and bishop. We are ahead in pieces, so we can start to try to trade, simplify, give this check now, take, take. I'll go ahead and do that, not overcomplicate it. This pawn might come down, this pawn might come down, bishop might come down, this bishop might come down. We're threatening to capture the rook as well. They had no way to take the bishop. Oh, of course. I'm so bad at chess today. And every day, of course. It would have just been winning the exchange. Okay, they're threatening our bishop, but I think we can just now guarantee we win this rook. There's no concern of backrate mate by any means because we have this. We could take the knight. That's actually probably better. If we think material-wise, this is gaining an exchange. This is just gaining a whole piece. So we'll go ahead and gain the whole piece. They might try to threaten this pawn. We can just push it. I'm completely crushing. Nice job. I appreciate that. Unfortunately, I should be crushing more. I'm just really bad at chess and missing every obvious thing. But you know what? We're still winning, and that's what matters. Okay, so how to make progress from here. Obviously, our knight is hanging, so we probably need to move it. We could give this check. It doesn't seem to accomplish much. The king won't be able to go here or here. So the king would have to go here, 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 or here. Or they'd block with their rook and just lose an exchange. That doesn't necessarily seem to make progress, though. They can't go there because the bishop covers that diagonal. I'm still blind. And even if they went one of here and we brought our bishop back to give that other check, It just doesn't seem to do much. Probably simplest just to retreat the knight. Yeah. In general, giving a check does not accomplish much. So we can't go here because of the bishop. Obviously, we can't go back here. Putting the knight on the edge is bad. So our real candidates are here, here, or here. Here would be stupid because it's on an edge and it's blocking the rooks from seeing each other. Here would be less active than here. We don't need to worry about this rook because our bishop is covering it. So we'll go here, and we have this fork threatened as well. I guess actually this wasn't good. They have two attackers. I should have seen that. But we're still, I think, winning, so it doesn't actually matter. So we'll challenge this rook, and if they trade, we're just up a bishop. And of course they don't trade, because they recognize that they're still behind materially. Maybe trying to gain this pawn. Could threaten this rook, but then he probably just goes here and now is threatening two pawns. What to do? How to not blow this lead? After completely crushing, being up multiple pieces, now only up one piece with a pawn threatened. I think we don't panic and we just... Okay, so if we go here, the rook could still go here. No, it can't, because then we just take the rook. Let's just go here. We'll let him have this pawn. Probably don't want him to let him have this pawn. I don't like putting my rook behind a pawn. I could give a check. And then what? The opponent has to go here, 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 or here. If he goes here, we have a discovered check that we can maybe use to our advantage. We'll do this. Getting the rook on the 7th rank is usually helpful. Then we can maybe line up the rooks too. And maybe we don't need to worry about our pawn being threatened. Could also take this pawn. Wait. We can force a trade of rooks now. Bishop here, take, take. So let's go ahead and do that. Attacking this pawn, the stupid move would be to push it and completely trap our bishop. So we won't do that. We could take the pawn, let the rook come to our 2nd rank. We can give another check. Doesn't really accomplish much. We really want to make use of our bishop. We could go here and start pushing the pawn. Maybe that's what we'll just do. At some point, we might need to push at least one of these pawns so that we don't get into back rank troubles. And just based on my vision today, I very easily could hang a back rank mate. so now if we go here, obviously that is not a legal move. Pawns can't move 3 spaces. They would just take. So we could go here first, prepare. Arrows are hard. We could go to c3 first, prepare b4. Still take this pawn, it's still hanging. Not too worried about it because it's stuck behind their other f pawn anyway. Under 7 minutes against our opponent's 12, but 6 minutes is plenty. Okay, they're just trying to push their pawns. Also, again, stopping b4, but it's not really a huge concern so long as we can stop this pawn from promoting. I'm not worried about it right now because our bishop, even going here, will still protect this square, and we can always shift our rook over as needed as well. So let's go ahead and take the pawn. Obviously not worried about the king coming here. We can easily enough retreat our bishop. Okay, so maybe I should think about what the opponent is going to do here. So if they go here, I can't recapture because then it's checkmate. But I could just push. If I push now, they can take with en passant. If I go there and then I push, take, take. They push again, forcing the rook to move. No, not forcing the rook to move, the bishop would take. We probably want to get the king involved. Hopefully somehow create a passed pawn. For now, it might be a good plan eventually to start chipping away at their pawns. For now, I want this bishop to keep vision on there, keep this pawn in check, tell him to check himself. We'll move our king. The king can be a powerful attacker in the endgame, which we are certainly in the endgame. So I think if he pushes, we'll just push. So he's getting his king involved now. Maybe he wants... Well, he can't go this way, so maybe he... If he was going to route this way, he should have gone directly here. So I'm not quite sure what he's going for with this move. Maybe to protect his own pawns? We'll just get our king involved too, though. Yeah, so he's protecting his pawns. But I think maybe we just trade them away. Not sure what the opponent's thinking here. I think I have this check, which will force the king back. Could check again. I might be cutting off my own king, though, from getting in the game. Could take. But that gives my opponent a passed pawn. Start pushing. Whoops, pawns can't move like a knight. Could start pushing this pawn. We could move our rook over. Not now, because then our opponent will just take with check. But at some point, we might let our opponent have our b pawn so we can get their a pawn. If I move my king up first, does that accomplish anything? It at least makes it so I can think about sacrificing my b pawn to take their a pawn. Threatens the bishop. I don't think we need to worry about this. The bishop could go not there. Bishops can't move vertically. Here or here. Even back here. If I go here, the king can't come in. The rook can't come in. Seems okay. We're down to 3 minutes. Probably should be conscious of time. 3 minutes is still plenty to win this, though. Yeah, good advice. Don't go too fast and blunder, but you are lowish on time. Always want to be mindful of your clock, but also better to play, especially if you're in a time disadvantage. You don't want to go so fast that I don't understand that move at all. You don't want to go so fast that you just blunder away, especially if you're already better. So now I think we're just going to go here. And if the opponent moves back, we'll still just take the pawn. This pawn is protected by my h pawn, so I'm not really sure what they're going for. We'll go ahead and let him take the b pawn. We will then threaten to take another pawn. Let him have this pawn, but we'll take with check. We'll not quite win this pawn with check because the rook is here, but we'll give it check. And now start trying to make progress with this pawn. So I'll move the bishop back here. He might move his rook over and attack this pawn. Try to make a passed pawn of his own. Check here, king would come down. Doesn't help. Yeah, he wants to take that pawn. Could go here, take, can't take back. Check, check. not check, check. Like take, check would not be good for us. Let's see, if we get that check, the king would probably come down as opposed to going there. No, that would be forced actually. He can't move anywhere but there. And this would be check on the next move. We could move our king back, protect this pawn. This pawn would come forward. We could take, he could take. Running low on time. Not sure if this is the best move, but for now it seems to hang on to the pawn. Of course, not worried about taking. That check is fine. We'll still stay here. Opponent might have realized that going there seems to be better for winning this pawn. I didn't want to go here because then I'm worried about that pawn. I think we just start pushing this pawn. Oh, we can also give this check. Is that's not mate, is it? That might be mate. Yeah, that was just mate. GG's. All right, new opponent. Not the cleanest win. Missed a lot of things, but such is the life of a 1400. Nice game, thank you. A little slow on tactics and vision today, but we're getting there. Trying to take my time, but even with taking my time, still just blind to obvious captures. Very easy to remember in theory that you always look for checks, captures, attacks, and in practice, easy to forget. We're white again, we'll do e4 again. Brooke is pumped about the mate and one fine. Oh, did she see it before I did? Or is she just happy? Okay, so this is a Philidor, and I know about 4 moves of theory, which is this. And now I'm out of theory, so I'll go to general opening principles, which is take the center, king safety, knights before bishops. She just thought it was cool. Well, I appreciate that. Thank you, Brooke. Not sure what this move accomplishes. I wasn't looking to move my knight here. And this pawn push doesn't seem that scary. I guess it means I shouldn't move my bishop here. Obviously not here. I'll just go to e2. We're ready to castle. Our opponent is thinking. I suppose that means opponent is probably out of theory. For those wondering why I picked d2, which no one asked about, as opposed to, say, d3, is d3 would potentially overprotect this pawn and let the queen have this diagonal, but this bishop then can't move anywhere from here. Not without pushing this pawn or something at some point. E2 creates a battery with our queen and bishop. We can potentially try to trade away their light squared bishop, or at least offer that trade, get our queen active. Thoughts of a 1400 chess player? H6 seems like an inaccuracy to me. It's too early in the game to have all these pawn pushes. Opening principles, generally, you want to get your pieces out. That pawn push is really not accomplishing anything immediately that I can see. I wasn't going to put my dark square bishop here anyway because the queen already controlled that square. That being said, how to take advantage of it is another question that maybe a higher elo player could answer, but for now we'll just continue with making our progress in opening principles, in this case by castling. So they developed their dark square bishop to the only square it really could go to without pushing this pawn to and fianchettoing it. Suppose maybe they want to go here and trade away my dark square bishop, but that would be bad because my dark squared bishop is on its starting square and not doing anything. So if they went here, I would be more than happy to trade it, even if it meant their queen coming out. Because we could always... I guess pushing wouldn't be the best because they have their light squared bishop and we don't want to be weak on the light squares while they still have their light squared bishop. We could always... So a couple thoughts here. We can finish the development of our minor pieces, put our dark squared bishop somewhere, so either here, here, or here. Prepare to connect the rooks, maybe move up the queen. We could offer to trade pieces. So if we're worried about the light squares, offer to trade, see if they accept. Try to take the E file for ourselves with our rook. Of course, they wouldn't have to accept. They could just move their bishop here, for example. We could take the dark squared bishop, though. Their queen would come in. We could move this knight as well. Nothing's attacking this pawn at this time, although their knight could come in. This is where I'm probably a 1400. It's hard for me to see how to make a plan. I suppose it's reasonable to just bring out the dark squared bishop. Here doesn't seem great. Don't know that they'd go for the pawn push. They would have the option to maybe long castle if they did. So we can just go here. It's not quite the same as blocking our bishop as if putting the light squared one here, because this knight is more ready to move than this pawn and this pawn. So indeed, they develop their knight, probably going to castle next. We could look a little bit ridiculous, put our rook here, and just have 3 minor pieces lined up all behind this e-pawn. We can't challenge, like we can't really offer this trade to light squares anymore because black has both their knight and their bishop covering that. So that would just lose the queen for a bishop and a knight, which, for those that don't know chess, is a bad trade. We can offer to trade the light squared bishop for the knight though. And if they don't accept, we trade it for the dark squared bishop. Could trade knight for knight. Really open up the e-file. Let's maybe try to get rid of the bishop pair from them and go here. And hope that I'm not missing, that I'm blundering something. So they do accept the trade. Also opening up the e-file for us to sort of take. Our bishops are in the way, pushing their pawns. So if the opponent continues to build on the light squares, I will be happy to start trading away my light squared bishop and maybe also build on the light squares. For now, let's threaten the rook and try to get our rook to take the e-file. They, of course, push another pawn, which, again, doesn't seem like the most accurate play. Their knight, I guess, can come here. This seems like the more natural spot for the knight. I probably would have moved the rook down, followed by pushing this pawn twice, so that the way the knight could come here. But I guess the knight can't come here because then the bishop just takes. I could get a rook on the 7th rank by deflecting the queen away. So I would threaten the queen, I would sacrifice my bishop and take their bishop. And I don't know how I make progress from there. But then, like, maybe the queen can come in. I don't know if it works. Seems cool. We'll try it. I assume the opponent will not just blunder that I can take their queen. Need to be mindful of building pressure on the f-pawn. So opponent decides not to take. I guess saw that it was not a free bishop and would have instead let my queen infiltrate. Or my rook, I should say. But potentially followed by the queen right after. So what to do now? It'd be nice if I can get some added pressure on this pawn. But right now, 2 pieces defending it and only 1 attacking it. So I would need 2 pieces to come in to really make that work. I should probably also not just hang this pawn. So I could get my queen in, connect the rooks. Suppose that's what I'll do. Well, so let's be thorough. If the queen comes here, does the opponent have any checks, captures, or attacks? I'm not seeing anything immediately. But I miss a lot of things, especially it seems today. Interesting move. Maybe their plan is to go here. Not that that seems to do much. It also lets me put my rook here, which will add another defender to this pawn. If we go here, checks, captures, attacks. Bishop could potentially go here. Then we'd have to retreat, so maybe that's not a good plan. Could push our b pawn, so here we win the queen, so they wouldn't do that. Well, it'd be a trade of queens. We wouldn't win it. Their knight is still here. Their knight literally can't move anywhere. Let's go ahead and go here. I guess their plan is to move their bishop somewhere. Not really sure. My light squared bishop is not good. They're strong on the light squares. It'd be nice to trade it away. I wouldn't cheat, but it's so hard to not suggest moves. I know what you mean. When we're watching maybe higher rated players, titled players, we know we don't have any moves to suggest that they don't already know anyway. But against with our friends, we see things, especially against lower rated friends. We see things. I'm getting somehow into time pressure again. Maybe I just bring this bishop back. I kind of liked him here, but he's not doing a whole lot. He can't really make progress. Maybe build pressure here. So where to move the knight? If we move it here, the bishop might move. We're not concerned about that. We can start maybe rerouting our knight to the king's side. I'm going to start picking up the pace just because I'm somehow 8 minutes behind on my opponent again. They're now, interestingly enough, moving to the dark squares. So, begs the question, I mean, having the bishop pair is probably good. We'll just continue rerouting our knight. Yeah, I thought about that after I moved here. Unfortunately, going here doesn't accomplish much because take. But we could go here. Could go here. Could just move the knight. Example here. Doesn't seem like a good spot for the knight. If we go here, they might just push their pawn. We can come back. If we take their knight, and they take ours, we can maybe even sack our bishop and open up the king. Or just get our knight over here. I liked knight a4, knight b6, or knight c5 there. I'll have to go back and look. I'm going to try to focus on where I'm at in the game now instead of where I was. I guess I could have traded the rooks. Doesn't seem like a good thing though, so I don't think I really missed anything. Maybe I'll line up my rooks. Just trying to make progress some way in this game at this point. Getting low on time. Okay, now their knight's getting involved. Can't take it, of course, because the rook is protecting. Could sack the exchange. Doesn't seem good. We'll just continue our plan. Line up the rooks. We now have 2 attackers on the bishop, but there still is 1 defender. Let's see. So check. It's not a real fork because they could go there. So check, take, check, take, take, take. Okay, so we don't have enough attackers there yet. And our queen is under attack as well. What if we add 1 more by going here? I didn't think about it and probably should have thought about it more. We'll see how this plays out. Might just be losing a piece. We would take a pawn, they would take our knight. And now, well, we'll just take. Gain a pawn. Or not gain a pawn. We're attacking our knight. If we take the bishop, our knight is defended. Let's just take the bishop. So of course move the rook. Okay, what to do? We have 4 minutes still. Plenty of time. We're now up a minor piece. Generally enough to be winning. But still needs accurate play. I really want the knight to take here. We have a rook on the 7th rank, which is good. We have doubled pieces here. So if we go here, they take, we take, they take, we take. Doesn't seem good. We're giving them a rook and a queen for their rooks. And then the king can just go here. So we shouldn't do that. I'd love to trade away their queen. Can't move my queen right now without hanging the knight. We could bring the knight back, threaten their queen, reroute the knight somehow else. what to do, how to make progress. We want to take advantage that we have an extra knight. But how to do that? Can now move our queen. If we go... I wonder, so this is way too slow, but we could go here, 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 and maybe try to pin the queen to the king and win it. I guess since we're low on time and don't have other plans right now, we'll see how well it goes. It's obviously easily thwarted just by either of these pawns going up. It also would unfortunately lose our... what do I think of that? If I go here, and they go there, could I go there, there, there? I don't know. We're just going to move fast. If they don't go there or there... Okay, so they move the king. We can still threaten the queen, though. The queen would be forced to go there. Then maybe we get our knight back in the game. So if we put the knight there, then we can threaten to go there. They might threaten our queen. Or the queen just goes there. Could go here. The rook's protected by the queen. Go here. I don't know how this makes progress. Might be a dumb move, but we'll see. Move the queen again. Could just trade it away. Undoubles their pawns for them. But we're up a pawn, and we're up a piece. Not super worried about the rook being attacked. We'll just take another pawn. If they attack the rook, we can move up. If they come back here, we can just move the king. Could have taken actually with the knight, still can, because our rook from afar is defending this knight. So there, and I mean, let's first give this check. Might be bad, but we'll do it. And then, now what? Trade away the rook, I guess. Need to move the knight because now it's hanging. We'll threaten their rook. They might take the pawn, I guess. They're threatening this pawn, so we probably need to eat away at their pawns. We'll defend this pawn at least first. Even if the king goes here, then we can go here threatening this pawn. We'll just let the pawns be gobbled away. Sure, we'll give a check because we're low on time. It'll take 3 moves for our knight to get there. It takes 3 moves for a knight to move one piece vertically or horizontally. For example, we could go there, there, there. We have to keep in mind, though, that they can just push that pawn. So maybe we ought to go here. Even if the rook threatens, we can just block with our knight while protecting this piece. Knights, I've heard, are ideal blockers on pawns. Opponent is above his starting time. That is hilarious. Okay, so now attacking our knight, forcing it to move away. I guess we'll go here. He might go here. We'll just push our pawn. Looks like we've got a good position this game. Yeah, it doesn't seem bad. Our pawn is defended, so we'll just maybe keep pushing. We're covering this square, so king trying to come in, that just loses the rook. And opponent resigns. GG's. Okay, that felt like I was a little bit more vigilant this game. And Hauser says, nice. At some point, I know OwlZio, you have figured out how to use Streamlabs to get chat to show up on the stream. One day I'll, because I tried to play with that and didn't figure it out. One day I'll ask you to help me with that. Okay, let's try a bullet game. So I'll try to narrate my thoughts as much as possible. We're just doing our normal opening, the Italian. We'll go for a fried liver. The opponent knows what they're doing, unless they take. Okay, they went there. We'll give this check. If they block with the pawn, we take. I don't know what to do here, so we'll just trade. Queen's out. This pawn's undefended. I guess we'll defend it. Oops, pawn had two defenders. That's okay. We'll just move on with our lives. Probably shouldn't have let them trade now that they're... Well, we're really tight in material, I guess. This knight is still hanging around. Opponent wants to change that, but he has a defender. Can come in with the queen. Maybe pawn comes down. They take for some reason. I'll take with my bishop. They castle. I'll castle. Still waiting for this pawn move. It doesn't come. I almost just hung my queen. I wanted to get this kind of thing where my queen is there, stopping that. Nothing's attacking the bishop though, so could reroute queen. Let's take the file. I mean the semi-open file. It's guarded by the knight, but not worried about that too much. Maybe queen here, get a better battery, but it has two defenders on that square, so that won't be good. I'm surprised my opponent's just letting me keep my pieces here. That doesn't seem good. Then again, we're 1,000, 1,100 or so, so neither of us maybe are the best chess players. What to do? Rook lift. Maybe now my rook can come here, and then the bishop can come here, or even here. opponent just pushes pawns. Continue with our plan. Moment of truth will come. Which place will place the bishop? I guess here. Check. Could have checked with the rook. And they resign. I guess because after here, it's another check. Okay. Not a bad game. I want to go back for a second to the previous game. Because Enhauser said there was a spot where he would have moved the knight. I meant to go back after the game when I had more thinking time to see. I think it was before this point. It's been before this point. Was it after here or was it before here? Must have been after here. So I guess at this point, yeah, so Enhauser, you were saying, let me scroll up chat. Knight A4. So that we can then reroute to B6 or C5, which would have put pressure on the queen, forced it to move. Yeah, seems legit. Worked out for me in the end to, I guess, move the knight. Where did I move the knight? To E2, I guess. And bring it to the king's side, get some good things going. Yeah, worked out great. Might be because my opponent, like me, is a lower elo. I think your idea was smart. I didn't necessarily know the best way to make progress. Okay, let's do another game. We'll do another bullet. Let's see. E4, E5. Fight back for the center. Typical opening. This could do Scotch. We take the pawn, they'll take back. We can't take back with our knight because then they get the queen. We'll just do the classical response, which is to attack the knight with our bishop. They took. I think sometimes I take with this pawn and then realize I'm losing the right to castle. So I'm going to take with this pawn. And then I guess I just develop. I don't know that I need to be worried about that bishop there. It's also bullet, so I can't take too much time to think. It's the hardest part about switching time modes is sometimes you forget that you've switched time modes. Here. Just pressuring my knight. He's just doing a dance. Now I'm pressuring his bishop. Sure, we'll take. He'll take back with his queen. I don't know that that's a good spot for his queen. This pawn is really annoying because it's stopping this. We'll go here anyway. Get our queen involved. Don't need to be intimidated by that rook. We'll go here. No, we won't. That would hang our queen. We'll go here. Then maybe we can put pressure on their queen. We have pressure on f2. Trade. Pressure their queen. They move. We'll take the semi-open e-file. We'll reinforce our bishop. They attack our bishop. Unfortunately, I do have to just lose the bishop, because if I move it away, I just lose the queen. Unless I can think of a way out of this quickly. I can pin that pawn. Still can't move the bishop because then it's checkmate, or pretty close to it. Maybe not checkmate, but I can take this pawn though. Queen's defending it. Threatening to take this pawn too. The knight goes, we'll take the pawn. Threatening to take with check. Not quite mate because the queen can block. We have 27 seconds, so we need to think quickly here. Let's think slowly instead. Just create threats. Need to move quickly with only 12 seconds left. I could have just taken that, missed it. I'll take. Trade away. Oh, let's not pre-move. Hanging the rook. Probably have a fast mate somewhere, but with this low time, I don't want to time out when I'm completely winning. Oops. That's unfortunate. Needed to move the queen down or something, I guess. It happens. Okay, we'll do a longer time control again. Hard to narrate what I'm thinking when it's rapid. Oh, a challenge from Secret Fish, who's also Enhauser. And it's for bullet. Let's do it. Hopefully he's not stream sniping. Is he gonna go for the Russo Gambit? That's what he normally does. He's thinking. He's not sure. We're ready to counter gambit his Russo gambit. And he just does the d6. We'll likewise respond with d3. If I go here, then what? I don't know. We'll find out. Might just be him pushing his pawn and me losing my bishop anyway, opening up the rook. That pawn's defended, but we'll develop anyway. At some point, we'll want to get our bishop out. He castled, I'll castle. Let's just trade because it's bullet. He has to push this pawn. He said he's muting the stream. I'll take his word for it. Very serious casual game. Can't be stream sniping. Attacks the knight. We'll move back, attacking this pawn. If he goes up, that's unfortunate because then he's attacking our knight and our knight. Although that one's defended, he defends the pawn instead. I have no idea how to make progress, so I'll just take the open file. Semi-open file, I should say. We have a 20-second advantage right now that will quickly disappear, I'm sure. If it goes there, then what? I'll have to move my knight away. Maybe to there. Challenges it. I don't know. We'll push this pawn. He pushes. We'll... Unfortunate. Should not have allowed that. We'll put our knight in timeout. Queen comes in, knight's out of timeout. What's he going to do? Hard to say when it's bullet. We'll trade. Queen takes. Push the pawn? Don't know what that accomplishes. Rook lift. Rook comes down. We'll attack the queen. Queen moves. We'll attack the bishop. Bishop moves. We'll push this pawn. He's down to 12 seconds. He's attacking that pawn. We'll take this one. He takes. We'll trade. We'll reinforce these pawns. He attacks it. We'll attack his rook. He defends. Go here. We'll go back here. I don't know. We have a good advantage, maybe. Oops, hung that pawn. No, I didn't. He hung his queen. I guess I'll defend this pawn. And he's hanging all of his pieces, maybe going for stalemate. We'll get this check. Let's try not to and checkmate. GG's. Good game to you too. How about a rematch? I left the game. Okay, no rematch. No worries. Standard. Okay, casual still. I didn't know what standard meant. I was white last time. Should I just abort so that way you can be black? Or so you can be black. So that we switch colors? Let's do it. Okay, Vienna. Uh-oh, I forget the moves from here. Push the pawn. Don't think that's theory. I have a lot of theory against the Vienna. At least for this line. I think I needed to bring the knight out. I'll bring the... what's he threatening? I don't know. We'll take the pawn. And then we'll bring our knight out. We probably need the bishop here. Knight out, maybe not as good anymore. Probably need to develop this bishop at some point. We'll just play the knight. If he wants to trade, that's fine. Get ready to long castle. He took the pawn back. Probably should have seen that. Maybe our knight will go here. Sure. Preventing him from castling. And threatening this rook. Sure. Pedro Brum. We can play a game after this. So he hangs the rook. I probably should look. It's a bullet game, though. Is he going to trap my queen? No. What to do? Maybe this check so that I can come down and offer a queen trade. Could have already done that with the rook. But at least now I'm developed. Sure, Pedro Brum, we can play after this. Push the pawn. What's he threatening? This. Take this pawn, maybe. Then he has that fork. Unfortunate. But I can go here. Threatening his queen. So he can't take. So So it moves his queen. So now I'll take the pawn. Oh, it's checkmate. Silly me. All right, I will send out a challenge. Do you have a preferred time control, Pedro? Casual, rated. Don't want correspondence, want real time. This time control was 2 minutes plus 1. We could do that. GG. So to Elichess. Other than hating mate in 1, I felt pretty good about my position. But tough to see. As you saw in my earlier games, even with higher time controls, I can be pretty blind to threats. So lower the time control and all the more. Sent the challenge, Pedro. Not sure if you still wanted to play. Is he still in? Yeah, I didn't play Theory in quite the right order, and I think I was still winning most of that game, except that last one. That's how it goes. That's chess. You're winning until you're not. I guess really chess is a drawn game, so you're drawn until you're not, until your opponent makes a mistake. But he who blunders last, I forget how it goes, but it's not about who blunders the most, but whoever blunders last. In that case, it was me. Maybe we can play later. I'm going to, for now, go back to Rapid. Bullet is fun, but I think I want to be able to talk through my moves more. E4 again. Okay, another Spanish, another Ruy Lopez. Non-exchange this time. We bring the knight out, not with any idea, not with any thought that we'll actually be able to take this pawn. The rook coming over after taking is just too hard to deal with. So best to just kind of keep your development. At this point, some lines you immediately fianchetto the light squared bishop. I've been preferring to defer that and first develop the light squared bishop. Or, wow, the dark squared bishop. Can't even get my terms right today. That's where my mind is at. Okay, let's see. Do I need to worry about d4? Because if d4 take take, and I take. So I mean, really, it's just a matter of a counting exercise, right? How many defenders does he have of the d4 square? He has 2, and I currently have 3. So I don't need to be worried about d4. At least for now. So maybe best to just castle. At some point we'll probably want to play either d6 or d5. If we play d5 now, take, we still have the queen defending. Opens up the center maybe a little bit. Might even push this pawn first, just so we don't need to worry about pressure on f7, although, yeah, let's go ahead and play h6 first. So I forgot to count the queen as a defender, so he does have 3 defenders against my 3 attackers. So I'm really bad at counting. It's the moral of that story. Because now take. But I think we're okay, right? Take. No, if this pawn wasn't here, we'd be okay. So we'll just move our bishop back. Maybe I should have taken first with the e-pawn. He's going to get an attack on our knight, and I think there was no way to avoid that. Either was we trade the pawns and then he pushes and attacks the c knight, or in this case he takes and attacks the f knight. And we'll go ahead and take this pawn. The rook's going to come over, and we're going to retreat again. Not exactly the position we want as black. We're not castled, and this kind of thing is looking scary. Luckily, we won't lose the right to castle with our knight here if, for example, take, because then our knight comes down. Alright, have a good night, Enhauser. I'm probably going to end soon anyway. I was thinking this might be the last game. Thanks for sticking around. Thanks for the games. It was fun. Hopefully some good insight into all the blunderous ways of 1400 things. Hopefully it didn't make you want to pull your hair out too much. Your thought process is more organized than mine. Anyway, good night. At least sometimes it is. And even if it is, it doesn't mean I'm thinking right about the position. Even if your thought process is less organized, you, I think, understand the positions better than I do. At least in higher time controls. I think I'm okay if he takes this. I can also just take the bishop, trade away my dark squared bishop. Takes with the queen. Not sure that trading for me there was the best move, but it certainly was a move. We'll go ahead and castle. He now has 2 defenders on the e-pawn. I have 1 attacker. My queen's a bit stuck. The only safe square it can go to, only squares are e7 and e8. But I want to leave e8 for the rook. Develops a knight. Doesn't seem to be threatening anything, just probably developing. We could push this pawn now. With d6 takes, we can take back with the queen, I guess. With d5, not sure that that helps. The pawn is guarded. I definitely need to activate this light squared bishop somehow, though. Let's just fianchetto. Can maybe dream of putting pressure on the g2 pawn in the future. Probably not going to happen, but we can hope. Might maybe redirect our knight. Opponent might try to bring their knight more into the game. So take, and we're completely fine. Let's go ahead with our plan to maybe redirect a little. Okay if we trade knights. I guess this maybe wasn't great because now take. Well, no, the queen has to move. Because take. Let's just pretend I thought that through and know what I'm doing. Queen there threatens the knights. If we go there, we lose a pawn. What to do? Could just go back here, threaten the queen again, repeat moves. Queen. Offering a trade of queens. My queen's not doing anything. It's still on its starting square. So I think that trade is better for me. Moves their knight to the rim, which is dim, as we all know. Removes a defender on this pawn. So we can move this rook over now. Now we have two attackers on the pawn. If he pushes, we'll have to choose which pawn to take with. Probably the d pawn, just so this is not opened up. The opponent doesn't have any bishops anymore. It's a bishop and a knight against two knights. So at least we could take solace in that if we traded away the rooks, traded away all the pawns, two knights is not enough for checkmate. But a knight and a bishop is, so we'd be slightly better in that regards. Maybe we'll do a rook lift. So even if opponent goes here, we can just trade away. Get a pawn. Here, here, here. Okay, we knew that was coming, but this bishop still protects that rook. And I'm not really sure the opponent wants to give up this file. But they're kind of forced to now, because either they take and we take back, and obviously if they don't move it, we take with check. So opponent does choose to trade rooks. So none either of us had that file. Fair enough. Which I guess also means we are not doubling up our rooks. Can still maybe move our rook over at some point. Try to get pressure. Okay, so I was in the middle of calculating this. Let's see. If I... So one, I can just take the knight and trade. I'll take my... If I take with my knight, he'll take back with the pawn. Then I can maybe move over. If I take the pawn first, though... If he takes... We take, and we're up a pawn. But not really, because he'll just win it back immediately. And if I take, and he takes, then I take, take. So we would have to take back with the rook first. This is probably not the way to go. But we went for it anyway. Or at least not losing material. Oh. Okay, but we're still... Now we want a pawn. Which, depending on how things go, might be good, might not. It's actually tricky with just one bishop and one knight, because my bishop obviously can only attack the light squares. And most of his pawns are on dark squares. So we're definitely at the point where we need to get our king in the game and try to take advantage that we have one extra pawn. We also have two pawns, like islands, if you will, whereas opponent has three. So hopefully that means we're better. That seems like a reasonable thing to think. But also my endgames are not so precise that I can say definitively better. Let's start by pushing a pawn, and then we'll start moving our king up the board to support these pawns. Knight comes. I think we're okay if we trade away the bishop. So we'll just push the king. We do have doubled pawns. Okay, but he doesn't trade away. We'll continue to get the king involved. Still willing to trade bishops. Trade bishops. Trade the bishop for the knight. Need to be careful of forking tactics with the knight. It can be very tricky. Go here. Prevent the king from moving forward. Then push our pawn. Maybe we'll push this one first. The king, his king still can't really make progress. Our king can't exactly make progress either, of course. This might just end up in a draw. I'm going to leave this pawn here for now. Push this one. His king basically has no way to come forward. Mine technically has this square long term. I can go here. His king still can't go here because of mine. Maybe the move is to undouble the pawns. Go here. He might just keep it closed. Also potentially gives a way for his king to enter. He goes there, there. Need a way to maybe defend this pawn. We could be the ones that keep the position closed. If we go here, I guess. Let's check. King has to move back. And then we'll still cut off the king from making progress. We still technically have this square. We probably need to get rid of that pawn first. At this point, I think the opponent has to move his king backwards, which means we're going to take this pawn. So this feels like maybe a winning endgame for us. Because that'll be our second pawn up. Then we can start pushing this one. Either of these pawns come and... yeah. So king moves. We'll start advancing this pawn too. King still can't... his king still can't make progress. Okay, how do we do this? We have 11 minutes, so we should probably take time to really figure it out. If our king goes here, his king still can't come forward. So, well, I didn't think further than that. It at least seems reasonable. His king moves back. if we go here, 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 seems reasonable. If we go here, 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 here. Let's go for it. Theoretical endgames are hard. I've read part of a book on it, which included the pawn section, but in practice it's harder. That does not seem like the right move for him. Because if I go here, he still has legal moves. Because he has too many pawns. So I think I'm just going to promote now. So even though his king can't move, well, his king can't move. So I do need to be careful. Guess I needed to think about it more. So I go here, and he goes here, and I go here, and he goes here, and I go here. Let's see. We might have failed this endgame and are going to stalemate now. I think his king can't move. Well, his king could have gone here. With our king here, once we take here, his king will be able to go here. So we should be fine. And if he goes here, and we take, and then he goes here, that's where we need to be careful. So if he goes here, we probably just need to take. And if he goes here, then we still need to take. So I think no matter what, our move is to take this pawn. Opponent resigned, I guess realizing the same thing. Okay, I think that's enough chess for me for one stream. Thank you all for watching. Appreciate the views. Hopefully it's insightful to see how 1400s on Lichess think. Happy to play anyone in the chat. No, it didn't work out for Pedro. Sorry about that, but happy to play another time. But I guess we'll end it here. Thanks everyone, and good night.